And my first guest here in studio is Mr. Tom Djokovic. He is the CEO of XsunX Incorporated. XSNX is their stock symbol. Tom, great to see you again.
Don, it's great to be back. Thanks.
Yeah, we're very, very pleased to announce that we're reinitiating coverage of the company. We've actually been following your company for a number of years. Why don't you tell us again what the company does?
Well, Don, we're in the solar space, and we're developing specifically making solar cells, which is just a component. It's part of what is required to make a solar panel. It's arguably the most important part. And the industry is dominated by silicon. And on the other side of the equation, there's another technology called thin film. And we're kind of combining the best of both worlds. We're combining some of the advantages of thin film, lower costs, things like that, with the form factor of silicon. And we've developed a new kind of technology called CIGSolar that makes thin film solar cells on stainless steel foils that match silicon in size and dimension, but they're much less expensive to produce. And so we're finishing up our first prototype tool to be able to go ahead and demonstrate it, and we're working hard to get that done right now.
Now, I know the company recently announced that you're basically expanding your operations into a new facility where you're going to be able to basically create these CIGSolar cells and demonstrate them to potential customers. Tell us about that.
Well, absolutely. Well, first, let me share with your audience, our business model is one of licensing. The industry right now is just filled with manufacturers. So to go out and try to become another manufacturer is pretty difficult, raising the capital in this economy, things like that, and trying to compete with people who already have established market presence, brand name, things like that, service departments. It would be foolish, we think. So, but the entire industry can benefit from this technology by being able to install one of our systems or a series of our systems to go ahead and produce their own less expensive CIGS-based solar cells and replace, instead of using silicon, use ours to go ahead and make their panels. And so what we're doing right now is this facility we're expanding into, we're taking delivery of our tool, our first system that we're building, along with the balance of its components. And in there, we're going to assemble it. We're going to then go ahead and use that for demonstration purposes to interested customers. We have quite a few people that are interested in taking a look at it. So it's kind of a place where they come in, kick the tires, you know, just like a car dealership. Very few people buy a car without going out and kicking the tires. The same kind of situation with this. And at the same time, we use the facility and the system to continue to improve the technology.
So that basically, that's what this is all about. Now you're basically putting yourself into a place where you can basically have a headquarters of operations, so to speak, yes, to bring in potential customers. Because again, when you're in the licensing business, they've got to be able, as you mentioned, kick the tires, touch, feel, get a demonstration.
Right. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, up till now, we've been flying very much underneath the radar, keeping things very lean. I mean, we're continuing to keep things lean. It's, as we know, the capital markets are very tough. We're a pre-revenue company, so we have to raise capital, go ahead and fund all this. So we've tried to keep things, management's tried to keep things as lean as possible, as focused as possible. Right now it's the time for us to do some expansion. So we're doing it reasonably, we're keeping the lid on it, but nonetheless, this is a major, major move for us. We're very excited about it, and it's going to really open up the ability for us to market the technology in the way that it really needs to be marketed, in the way that our customers are interested in seeing it. Someplace, like I said, where they can come and see a demonstration, turn the knobs themselves. So we're looking to expedite that as quickly as possible.
Company's XsunX, their stock symbol's XSNX. Now, speaking of money, Tom, I know you announced just recently you raised about $500,000. Yes. Proceeds, I guess, are going to be used to finish your technology. But what has this influx of capital done for the company?
Well, Don, we've been, like I said, we're pre-revenue, and so raising capital is very important to bringing a technology to market. I mean, it was important to Hewlett-Packard, Apple, Bill Gates, and Microsoft, everyone, and we're in the same boat. And so this most recent financing really helps us because we generated a lot of liability associated with ordering various different components and parts for our system. And with this funding, we're able to come in there and really wipe a lot of that off the balance sheet, really help clean it up. At the same time, it helps strengthen the confidence between us and our vendors, and also with our interested customers, because they see us with the ability to help to now be able to expedite the final assembly of the tool. So all around, it wasn't a significant amount of money, but it was a significant amount of boost to confidence, both at our vendor level and with our interested customer level, and with our ability to expedite this final assembly.
Tom, I think it's important that we bring this up because in the current administration in Washington, green technology has been a focal point of their concentration.
Right.
And of course, solar took a real hit to the broadside with the Solyndra problem that happened. Right. How has that kind of news affected your company and your industry overall?
Well, the overall industry for the last couple of years is really, well, first of all, the industry, last 5 years, it's grown 70%. Annually, all right? This year, we're only anticipating about a 10% growth. but that's still almost 30 gigawatts of installed solar power. We're talking, and the average nuclear power plant produces about 1.3 gigawatts annually. So we're talking about, what, 23, 24 nuclear power plants installed in the form of solar just this year. So when we say there's a slowdown, there's still a significant, incredible amount and a significant influence that solar is having. But what's happening in the industry is there's been a lot of price competition. So it's driven down, it's forced manufacturers, it's forced vendors, people who are supplying components, glues, adhesives, glass, solar cells, things like that, and the manufacturers, the people that aggregate all these products, assemble them into solar modules and distribute them. It's forced everyone in that throughout the entire supply chain to go ahead and squeeze down to the bare minimums. People are working on zero margins, single-digit margins, negative margins, and so the industry is really looking for a solution to somehow, revive their margins, make it profitable again. Give an example. First Solar, that we've seen their stock plummet. All right, and yet they have billions of dollars of booked business, hundreds of billions of dollars of booked business. But what's happening is Wall Street's turning around and saying, "Great, we love it." But there's no profit. Right. So why do you deserve any blue sky? And the industry really needs to be reinvigorated with some new manufacturing technology that helps them lower the price for it. That's what we think our CIGSolar technology can do.
Well, something that I see quite frequently in the media, newspaper ads, radio commercials, television commercials, that I did not see when we first started talking to your company 5, 6, 7 years ago, is there are a lot of companies out there now that are pitching their solar projects. I mean, there's companies on the radio saying you can have solar power in your home this weekend. We see newspaper ads for companies selling solar power. So the groundswell of human interest has really generated far beyond what it was even 5 years ago.
Well, in our society, interest is quite often dominated by financial aspects.
Yes.
Okay, people are driven to either save money or make money, and solar has proven, all right, and this is why we're seeing so much advertising, that there are financial models out there that work very well, that pencil, that makes it profitable for someone to come in and offer you a free installation of solar on your roof, or a cost-free installation and a very small monthly fee, something that basically equals your current electrical bill. And because it makes sense. And fortunately, it's in the last several years with this massive growth in installations, prices have come down. Unfortunately, margins have gone away for the installers, manufacturers, but it makes sense. It does make economic sense, and that's where we're going to see more and more of it. I think once we get through some of the some of the challenges associated with access to capital, and also with better technology that can help lower prices, such as our technology. I mean, real quick, give you an idea. Just a 10-cent drop on per cell, per watt on a solar cell this year for solar cell technology, something we believe our technology can deliver more than 10 cents, but just a 10-cent drop on what's going to be installed this year is $300 million in savings. Wow. Now, let's say that's split between the consumer and the manufacturer. $150 million each goes back into their pockets. All of a sudden, margins are revived, and solar at that point even begins to make more sense. So I think the growth cycle, with everything, there's dips, and then then we see the hockey stick again, then a dip, and I think we're set up for a hockey stick again starting next year.
Well, let's talk about your technologies. I know in the past we have spoken about the fact that your CIGSolar technology is really the first one that can go head-to-head with silicon and beat it on a cost per watt basis, and I know that is significant. So how does that technology advantage that you have affect these trends that we're talking about?
Well, the technology itself, briefly, what we've done is we've taken the concept that silicon in its form factor, 156 millimeter square, about a 6-inch square solar cell, really is it's like the perfect form factor. It allows a manufacturer to do a lot of things, allows them to match the various different electrical properties of the cells, to build different sized panels, things like that. And there's a lot of benefits associated with that. And with thin film, you have lower costs. We're combining those two in a system where we're using thermal co-evaporation to make the SIG cell, which is proven to be the most advantageous way to make a SIG solar cell. The problem is scaling the technology over years has been very, very difficult. They do it well in a laboratory, but the manufacturing system, all of a sudden, the performance falls off. What we did is we took the concept of keeping the area small, keep what worked in the laboratory and figure out a way to multiply it. The hard disk drive industry was very good at doing this. We've all seen what happened to the cost of hard disk drives. We're applying similar techniques to the manufacture of CIGS-based solar cells. And we have patents pending on this technology, and we're very excited about it. And we think that its direct influence is going to be able to allow manufacturers to reduce their capital expenditures, the amount of floor area required to produce solar cells, and their input costs and their end product and the solar panels. So across the board, it's a significant benefit to manufacturers to look towards our technology, to use it as a replacement for silicon. Plus many manufacturers outsource. They purchase their solar cells. By installing one of our systems, they can control their supply chain, which allows them to avoid price fluctuations.
Well, Tom, I mean, I'm not going to hold you to any of this, but if you can make a casual prediction to when you think the company might actually begin to secure its first paying customers, what would you say?
Well, Don, with moving in this new facility, that's obviously going to accelerate now for us. So we're rapidly trying to go ahead and complete the assembly. Our patent pending components for our crucible technology, which is our thermal evaporation crucible technology, all those are being delivered. We're going to be trying to assemble that, put it in place as quickly as possible. We've got to wire up the system, run gas lines, things like that. So we still have some time, a lot of work associated with that. But more importantly, with the system there, we can now start inviting customers in. This has been a major hurdle. And so Joe Grimes, our CEO and president, is going ahead and starting to invite customers over. We're going to start scheduling people to come in. So with them there, even though the system won't necessarily be, you know, today or tomorrow absolutely up and running, but they could come in and they could kick the tires and we can start talking with people. And we think that may lead to some early, some ability for us to close some deals earlier than actually having to wait for the system to operate. So like I said, as soon as possible.
Okay. XsunX, XSNX is their stock symbol. Tom, I'm very pleased to have you back on the program. Really looking forward to the progress over the next several weeks as we watch the company. Thanks for joining us.
I look forward to coming back, Don. Thanks.